Sage Intact. I've been with them for about 12 years, working on that system. And I really love it. It's a lot of fun. And today I get the opportunity to talk to you about some of the things I've heard from customers that I've talked to about how to make the business or to make finance more strategic. So this is our goal of this presentation: is how do I make finance more of a strategic partner in the growth of the business and driving the business forward. The title of this is Data-Driven Finance Leader. Sorry, we had a little webinar called Data-Driven CFO for a long time that I was on, so I might fall back to that once in a while. Any CFOs in the room? Okay, so you don't mind if I go that route, right? A lot of times when companies come to us, I get to interview new customers, and at our trade show, I like to talk to people who are there checking us out. We do a show every year, not a show, really a conference. I guess at our trade conference, we have sessions and things, and I talk to new customers or people that are checking out, and I say, what were you looking for? And they say visibility. And that's what they came for. They're looking for more visibility in their company. And as we dive into that, why do you want more visibility? And it gets down to they want to make better decisions, and they want to be involved in that decision-making process. So I'm going to talk a little bit about three aspects of that process. But before I do that, I want to take a quick poll. How many of you, or just think of what percentage of your time is spent in accounting tasks, managing transactions, audits, that kind of stuff? What I typically get, or when I ask this question, we've done some surveys. Our surveys have shown about 75%. Now, when I come to events like this, and I'm talking to people who are more focused on being data-driven, more focused on driving their company strategically, that number tends to go to around more 50%. I spend 50% of my time working on accounting tasks. But what if you could change that? What if you could shift that time that you spend on accounting tasks and move it over to something else? So if you're spending, say, 55% of your time, we'll bring that 75 down, and you're spending 20% of your time doing the things you have to do, those custodial things, right? You have to take care of those things. You're the protector of the company. Then you're spending 25% of your time being strategic. But if you can bring those accounting tasks down, we're going to talk about some ways to do that, then you can move to 50% or higher. You know, we don't have to stop at 50% being a strategic leader in the company. We've got Russell Guthrie here, CFO from IFAC. Some of you might have heard of them. They deal with a little bit of accounting stuff, right? And he said he saved 80% of his time in his quarterly close by working with Sage Intact and Adaptive Insights. And so we see that we have this huge opportunity to move away from that accounting task to be more strategic, to open up some time. So that's one place we can be more strategic as we open up time. But there's other parts to this besides just opening up time. And that is, what are we going to do with these decisions? So a recent study from PwC and the Economist Intelligence, what is it called? The Economist Intelligence Unit said that CFOs they talk to said, or finance leaders, make a big decision at least once a month. And by big decision, if you go in and read all the definitions and everything, this is a decision that's going to change the direction of the company, right? So they're making these big decisions that'll guide the direction of the whole company every month. And then they talked about how do you describe the timing of the most important decisions. And two red flags came up. One was that 9% of those decisions were reactive. They were just reacting to things, to changes that they didn't see coming. It just hit them, boom, and they have to react. That sounds more like marketing than finance, to tell you the truth. But they've got this, so they're being reactive. And then 25% of those decisions were delayed because they didn't have the right data in place. They didn't have the information they needed to really act on the decision, and it had been put off. And so they made these delayed decisions. What if we could recapture that into that 30% group, that opportunistic group? where we're taking advantage of opportunities and we're growing the business by seeing these opportunities, making decisions about them, and seizing those opportunities. We take that 25 and 9 and roll them over to opportunistic opportunities because we're getting a better look at what's in front of us. We're being strategic leaders. But how do we make these decisions? You've all seen this game, right? I played this with my kids. Usually, you get a 6-year-old behind this game and they start out A1, A2, A3. Pretty soon, you've won the game because they're going across. Just put all your stuff in the bottom corner and you play their strategy. But you can come up with other strategies, right? We could use intuition. You can say, well, last time I played this guy, I know he always runs his aircraft carrier, top to bottom, so I'm going to hit a few areas in there, or he likes to go over here, and so we use a little intuition. But what do studies say about decisions we make purely on intuition? How good are they? They're amazing, right? Because we're so smart. Actually, they aren't so good, right? You'd be better off flipping a coin. But what if you could create some more intelligence around this decision? Create some probabilities, right? This is what they do in real war. They go into battle, right? There's this fog of war. They don't know what's out there. And so they go in and they look and they see and they find out some things. And maybe they see a little troop movement over here. They see a ship kind of in the distance over there. They may not have the full picture, but now they have some probabilities. And now they can combine that with their experience, their intuition to make decisions, right? Because data just points out things. It doesn't solve things. Data just tells you where you need to spend your time. So let's talk about the data-driven finance leader. And I'm going to go back a little bit, really a little bit. Like this is just like, seems like yesterday to me. We're going to talk about what finance leadership was about, even back just to 2010. Right? We were dealing with the historian. Right? This was the finance leader. Basically kept the tally on how the company was doing. In sports metaphor, y'all love sports metaphors, right? About half of you maybe. But the sports metaphor would be, this is the scorekeeper at the game. Hey, you guys remember who was the scorekeeper at the Super Bowl last year? Can anybody tell me? Nobody has ever told me who the scorekeeper was at the Super Bowl last year, right? But this was the finance leader's job, was to keep score. And then they bring the reports and say, after the close, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8, some people 12 weeks, they bring these numbers and say, this is what we did. So this is the scorekeeper. This is the way finance leadership 1.0. We haven't got rid of that stuff, and I'll talk about what we did with that stuff, what we do with that stuff. We still have to create these reports, right? They aren't going away. But then we move to finance leadership 2.0. This is the next level. This is where we're a business analyst. We're getting more information that's closer to real time. We're able to do faster closes because of things like automation. We're able to look at metrics from different systems, bringing those in. And now we're becoming more of a business analyst. So instead of trying to drive the car looking in the rearview mirror, we're able to look out the windshield, and we're able to see those things immediately in front of us. And we're able to move forward. So now we moved from scorekeeper to referee, right? You go into the board meeting, you go into the staff meeting, and you're the referee. Oh, that budget's almost gone. We can see real time. Oh, look, that spending just happened yesterday, but it's on my financials now, and I can see that. So we've moved up a notch. So this is better, but we can do even better, and that is with finance leadership. I'm going backwards here. Finance leadership 3.0. Data-driven strategies. And this is where we start looking around corners. We start seeing through the fog of war. And this is where the finance leader shifts from being the old scorekeeper or the referee to being the coach to the company, helping the company see what their decisions are doing. Because the finance leader isn't just looking at the financial data anymore. They're not just looking at the chart of accounts. They're looking at all the data from that operational system and combining that, analyzing it with the chart of accounts. And the system is running algorithms. Now, there's a lot of hype about AI right now and what it's doing and what it can do and all the projections it can make. And whether you buy into hype or not, you've got to look at what's happening in some companies and what they're doing. And then find that point that's right for you as the technology comes out. But this is the next step, this data-driven CFO. And so how do we become this data-driven strategist? And I would say that it's not just a matter of having the right technology in place. Because a lot of companies have implemented technology and it hasn't gone anywhere for them. It's really like a three-legged stool, right? That the old milk farmer used to sit on. Move one of those legs, that thing tips over. You move two of those legs, it doesn't even stand up at all. Anyways, so it's these three parts, and that's people, process, and technology. And so I'm going to talk about those briefly, and then we're going to get heavy into the technology side, because that's what I do. But first of all, the culture, the people. This doesn't mean you go out and like hire new people. It's not about the people you've got, it's about the culture those people live in, right? And that starts with the leadership. And the culture needs to be one of curiosity. So we create a culture of curiosity with creative, intuitive, analytical thinkers going out and doing new things. And this culture has to make this culture thrive, requires kind of a different mindset. You can't punish people because of the data you receive. Don't what we call weaponize your data. You know, don't use it as a whip to tell sales to get in line. Use it as an opportunity. So a couple points here that we've done at Sage Intacct. One was a bunch of our marketing pages where we generate leads were not performing. They had dipped. We had made incremental changes in web stuff and moved pages around and things, and they had dipped. And this actually didn't come up in a marketing meeting. This came up in an executive staff meeting in front of the CEO, and he said, "What's this? What's going on?" And everybody thought, "Oh no, we're in trouble." And he said, "This is a great opportunity because we now know where we can generate more leads. We know where we can fix things here. And so we can go and test this and try things and move things forward." Same thing over in our engineering staff. So we reached a point, so when I first started with the company, we were innovating. We were doing new stuff all the time. And then we kind of went into this little lull for maybe a year or so. And that doesn't seem like a long time for most companies, but in a tech company, that's huge. And what was happening, we looked at it, we analyzed it, and our CTO, our head technology guy, Aaron Harris, he looked at it, and he said, "Our guys are afraid to submit code that's going to break anything." And so he changed the mindset, and there's signs all around our engineering department that say, fail fast, fix fast. And so we submit code faster, smaller increments. And this isn't the product you guys would see. This is in our development code. We break it, we fix it, we break it, we fix it, and we're able to innovate. We're able to do new things, more creative things. Because there's not punishment for breaking the code. There's not punishment for breaking the system. There's this culture of curiosity, creativity, making intuitive and analytical decisions combined. And we do the same thing in finance. But this, like I said, this is one leg, right? If you try and implement this culture of fail fast, fix fast without a process, without any technology behind it, it's not going to stand on its own. So we have this process, right? This is rigor. We put some rigor into a process. This is just one example. There's dozens of these variations on what the process is in your company, but it basically looks very similar, is that you prioritize things, you isolate them, you hypothesize about them, you test them, and then you monitor what happened, and then you cycle through again, right? So any of our data changes. So we want to change our pricing model. Well, let's change our pricing model in this sector. We're going to test it, we're going to analyze it, we're going to monitor it. If it's good, we're going to broaden that, right? And so we can do this in finance. We can do this in all the areas of our company, and it creates this safe space for us to be creative and intuitive and try new things and test things by having this process. But this process breaks down without the right data. If you're not following the rigor of the process, it can cost you a lot of money. So here's an example. Think of, you take your car in to be fixed. You know you're having an electrical problem. The mechanic, he pulls out the battery, puts in a new battery, no, that wasn't it, sorry. He pulls out the alternator, he charges you for the battery. Puts in a new alternator, and he says, oh, that wasn't it, but he charges you for the alternator. You're going to get pretty tired of this. But if he goes in and he isolates the battery, he says, oh, your battery's good. Isolates the alternator's good. Checks the lights in the back, lights in the front. He says, those are both good. Somewhere in the middle. You mind if I do another test? I think it's the seats or the windows. Got a short somewhere. That's what you want, right? Isolate, test, monitor. And we can do the same thing with any of our systems. The third point of this is our data. And I'm going to spend a lot more time on technology and data through the rest of this presentation. But our data needs to be, first of all, structured. So this is really important. We need structured data because computers don't read unstructured data. So we need to find a way to bring this data in and have it structured. I'll talk a little bit more about unstructured data in a minute. But so we need to make sure we have structured data coming into our system. And I leave this to the data scientists. And they come up with structures for data and how it works and everything. But we actually, in Sage Intacct, add some structure along the way. And I'll talk about that. It needs to be timely. Right? It has to be the data for right now. It can't be the data from a year ago. I can't compare my financial metrics from last month's close with my operational metrics from a year ago. I need to combine things in a timely way. I need to be looking at things that are current because the market's shifting and trends are shifting. And it needs to be accurate. And the way we get accurate data is by not touching it very much. We make sure we can drill back to the source with anything. Everything is auditable back to the source. The way we do that is through some integrations. So I'm going to talk about how we structure data, how we keep it timely, and how we can track everything back to the source and get this good data to drive our system. So those are my 3 points, the 3 legs of the stool. By the way, if I go back to this, if I can click back here, there we go. This little 3-leg stool here. Any of you work with millennials? Any of you are millennials? All right. So we're hearing things, right? They want to try new things. They want to know that they're effective in their job. They want this regular feedback. They're impatient. If you can create this culture and these processes and this timely data, you've got a perfect situation where millennials will thrive. So we've got this whole workforce coming on, and we can create places for them to thrive. Jump forward here a little bit. I got a few millennials of my own. They're finishing college, having kids, all that kind of stuff. It's fun. Automated financial operations. These are the ways we create time, right? We talk about wanting to be more strategic, wanting to spend more time on our strategic focus, less time on accounting tasks, some mundane accounting tasks, right? We want to move. So the way we do that is we create this space to be strategic by automating financial tasks. This does another thing. We automate these financial tasks. I'll get into more depth on that. But the other thing we need to be is multidimensional in our analysis. So I talked about that data needed to be structured, but what structure works best for your company? So you need to find a structure that works. I'm going to talk about multidimensionality. This is kind of the outline for the rest of my presentation, and then we're going to talk about synchronized data with other systems to get that real time or that timely data. So first off, automated financials, especially when you're growing fast. Right? Because when you're growing fast, you quickly find out what's scalable and what's not scalable. There's some strategies you can use to get through your tasks. Right? These are some of the manual tasks that eat up our time. Some of the things, and we do a lot of these on spreadsheets. And I just want to make it really clear, I love Excel. It's a fantastic tool. It's super flexible, it's super powerful, but it's also cumbersome, and it is not for repeated activities. So I would use it for prototyping, I would use it for one-off analysis, I would use it for analyzing new processes, basically getting everything in line so I can then take that process and put it into a data system that's going to run and it's going to be automated for me. So we do manual consolidations. How fun are those? Who's done a manual consolidation of multiple entities, right? That's when we see people coming to Intacct a lot from QuickBooks and from other areas. They like, who wants to take 5 QuickBooks files, put them in a spreadsheet, merge them together, hope you got it right, hope your formulas don't break, show it to the board just to find out one of your formulas did break, right? That's not fun. And so these manual consolidations, we've got currency conversions, checking tables. It's great when a system can check those tables for you and make all those currency conversions. Intercompany eliminations, but then you won't have all those journal entries to write at end of period. That's not fun, right? Aren't those fun? All those inter-entity elimination journal entries? Anyways, so you want a system that's going to take care of these things. Manual revenue recognition. Anybody here deal with revenue recognition? Okay, we got a couple. Okay. It's more of a subscription thing, or if you're dealing with services, multi-element arrangements, that kind of stuff. Doing it by hand is time-consuming. Usually ends up resulting in slower billing, maybe slower preparation at the end of year when you want to file. Manual reconciliation of data between systems. How many of you have taken a report from one system and a report from your financial system and tried to merge them and get some intelligence around that in Excel? We've all done that, right? This is how we start the process, but we could automate this. Manual allocations, big problem for a lot of nonprofits. They have to allocate things to funds and grants and all kinds of things. And if they're doing it manually, it's just a time drain. And manual vendor payment approvals. So who likes playing Find the Manager for payment approvals? Yeah. We can't get that approved today. He's at a trade show. But there's better ways. I'm not going to go into every demo of each of these things or anything like that. This isn't a product demo. But these are things that eat up our time. These are things that are not so fun. These are those manual tasks that I talk about. These are those accounting tasks that we can automate. Here's a company, Treon Partners, that automated, and they grew 43% without additional headcounts. That's the headline. What were they dealing with? They were dealing with untimely reporting to 10-plus customers. So you got to understand who they are. They're an investment firm, and they run $12 billion worth of assets under management for just over 10 clients. So these are deep-pocketed clients. Do you think that kind of client is demanding? I would be. If I had that much money at play, I'd be really demanding. So they were taking 3 months to get this report out. They were doing quarterly reports for these clients. They moved to Sage Intacct. They increased that by 78%. So that's actually about 3 weeks. They were able to do monthly reportings and have a week to spare. They saw 43% customer growth. So this is their customer. They're adding customers, but they're also having growth within their customer base. So they're serving their customer. And they scaled to 50-plus entities. And the great thing is and this is from the customer quote, we were able to literally reduce the time to get a consolidated view across entities from hours, or many hours, to minutes. And by many hours, they were talking like 40 to 80 hours to consolidate, to see what their value was for their customers. And now they just push a button. It runs in the background. They get their consolidations. The Hopi tribe. So this is a fun one. I actually have a friend who's involved with the Hopi tribe. He's Hopi Indian. He's my neighbor. And I was actually talking to him because I'm in financial software. And I know that they run nonprofits on reservation stuff. We're big in nonprofit. I said, what do you guys use down there? He said, I don't know, but it's a mess. He said, I'm not involved in that part. He's involved in a lot of organizations on the reservation. He said, it's a mess. And it was true. We went down there. Our salespeople were talking to the tribe. And apparently it was 2016. And they had not finished their audits from 2014 and 2015. So they were still in the throes of this audit. They had to report to a board for the reservation. And basically what this involved was multiple hospitality businesses. So they run restaurants, hotels, hospitality businesses, and the money from those businesses goes back to nonprofits and community groups on the reservation in the Hopi tribe. And so this was important to the whole tribe. And by the way, this was all along Route 66, runs through there. Maybe tell me where Route 66 starts. What's that? All right, here, Chicago. Yeah, so the Hopi tribe, guys just down the road on Route 66, they put Sage Intacct in place, and their 2016 audit was done in 1 month from the time that they got started on this system. Audit fees went from $70K to $28K. That's a pretty big savings, especially when you consider all the money you're bringing in is earmarked for nonprofits and community development. They approved $5 million in commercial development, and they increased their gross margin by 20%. So I'd like to increase gross margins by 20%, like just by changing one thing. So the real point behind this is, as you grow, as you're seeing growth, you need to see where things are going to crack, right? You need to see where those scalable processes aren't going to be, or those unscalable processes are in your company. There's a lot of things in finances that technology can help scale. This isn't true of every business or every part of your business, but in finance, it's really true. We can look at areas that are unscalable processes and switch them, find ways to automate them. And this frees up that time to be strategic, to work with the data. So our next point is that structured data, multidimensional analysis of key results. And it says Think GL Plus. I'm going to skip this poll. And we're going to talk about Think GL Plus here. And with GL Plus, this is, you probably wonder, what does he mean, General Ledger Plus? This is where we do more than just the General Ledger financial stuff. So you've got your financial debits and credits on your General Ledger, along with your chart of accounts, and we're looking at all this financial data most of the time. What if you could take that data and you could combine it in real time in an automated way with statistical data or non-GAAP data? So you go out there and you get just a head count. Or if you're in the retail business, you've got the square feet per store or hours of operation per store. That could funnel in over an API really quick. We can look at all these different ways that you can have information, the statistical information, flowing into your financial system and getting loaded into what we would call statistical accounts. And then you could run metrics against those. And so you've still got your regular reporting, right? You've still got your income statement, balance sheet, financial reports, but now you have industry-specific metrics. And what those can do for you is something like this. So across the top, we still got our revenue, cost of sale, margin. These are standard for every business. This happens to be a subscription business, probably a software business. User licenses. They've got a count. It's coming right into the system. This is straight out of their financial system. They've got revenue per license now. So they can tell a lot more about their users and margins per license. So they're understanding a lot more. And this is just in a heads-up display on a role-based dashboard that the finance leader builds, not built by some IT group or by Sage Intacct. And so when we combine these things, we start to look at our data in a different way. We start to Twitterize the chart of accounts. Now that's very millennial, isn't it? Twitterizing something. I didn't even know that was a verb. I think that one of our marketing guys coined it, in fact. But let's go way back, the Wayback Machine, to the I see a few gray hairs out there, just like mine. How many of you use the index catalog at the library? Remember going to that place? And you have to guess what you need to find. You're like, did I guess the right term? Am I looking for the right thing? And maybe first you got to brainstorm on a piece of paper about the different things it might be called. And then you go to this index and you find books in the Dewey Decimal System. You go to the stacks, you find the book you need. And then came along Google. And what Google did was allow us to search for things online. So it made it much easier, but sometimes it doesn't work out so good, does it? What do we do when we put in something and nothing comes up that we need? We just make it longer, right? We just keep adding words until finally something comes up that we want. And I would say the reason for this is that Google is dealing with unstructured data. And they're doing a really good job of it because this is really hard stuff. They're going out and finding unstructured data out on the web. They're indexing it to make it somewhat structured, and then they're letting you search it, and they're doing their best to pull your words together to try and find the thing you're looking for. But we don't want our people guessing. What we want to do is we want to do what Twitter does. What if instead of Google going in and indexing keywords and trying to figure out what this is about, if you went into the document and you put in keywords to tell people what this is about, like hashtags. We put in hashtags right inside our Twitter feed. We make a comment, and we hashtag this, and we hashtag that. I asked my 10-year-old daughter what on a scale from 1 to 10, what her favorite color of the alphabet was, just to see if she was thinking outside the box. And she said hashtag, which I thought was beautiful. Beautiful answer. But it's hashtag. I say pound, and my kids they correct me. Dad, it's hashtag. Right. It was pound in my day, but it's pound on the phone. I still get that on the conference. Press pound. You mean hashtag? Anyway, so we put hashtag this and hashtag that, and we're able to get to all our relevant tweets, right? We're able to see what hashtag was tweeted over time, what's trending, what's mentioned, what's retweeted. All these cool new verbs. Dimensions are like this. So this is where we're basically putting hashtags into our data at the time we're creating the data. And with a dimension, we can easily, dimensions, well, they can be renamed, they can be reused. And in our system, we have as many dimensions as you want. I usually, there's a limit to what my brain can handle in dimensions in a financial system. So you reach that point, but there's this idea that everything can be categorized to match your business. So one of our original examples when we created user-defined dimensions was, think of a company, we were in the Bay Area at the time, they got boats out on the harbor doing tour boats. What if you had a dimension for boat in your financials? And then you could pull up your P&L by boat, all the expenses that went into running that boat, all the revenue that came from that boat, everything about it. You could have this dimension for anything in your company, anything that you needed. Some standard ones are projects, right? Items, if you're selling items. Items are also, can be service. If you have standard services, you can make those items. And so you can look at, revenue on a warehouse basis or expenses on a warehouse basis, locations, departments, whatever works for your business. We see nonprofits working with grants and funds and creating a lot more dimensions around those. And then they go ahead and they tag transactions. And then we can go ahead and we can see that we change location to franchise. We can change class to meal type. And then we can go ahead and enter these in real time. So we're creating a bill, and we go ahead and we have this dimension spot on a bill where you can go in ahead and put in what the project was, or what the item was. Or if it's a bill, maybe it was related to a particular customer. Well, the customer's not going to be on the bill, but the customer can be a dimension on the bill. You can see all the bills related to that customer. And so you can create these dimensions in real time. Now you've Twitterized your chart of accounts, because now you can slice and dice your chart of accounts in real time by all these dimensions that you've created. In fact, you can even do it on a dashboard. This is a shot of a dashboard filter, and it's looking at the locations dimension. And so I can say, run this same dashboard with all this stuff, but show it for Maine. I just want to see my location in Bangor, Maine. And I can look at all my profit and revenue and all the same metrics just for that location. Or I can say, just run it by the downtown project. I can look at all the metrics, all the expenses and revenue by my project. And I can run these concurrently. I can say, show me profitability on items by location. Or I get into my statistical account. I can say, show me my revenue per hour per store, per retail hour that I'm open, per store. And I can see which stores are performing better than others and get these guys that are doing so well to train these guys that might not be doing so well. And this is all coming out of the finance team in those meetings saying, now you're coaching the company, right? You're looking at this data and you're coaching the company. An example of this, DataZoo. DataZoo is a digital marketing company. And what they do for their clients is they get ad placements out on the internet in strategic spots, and they manage that for their clients. But the way they bill is that they bill per view or click, and I think it depends on your contract with them, but so they're tracking thousands and thousands and thousands of these little tiny incidents out on the web, and they track that into the system that they've got, but then they need to feed that into a system to bill their customers. And as you can imagine, with all that data, manually consolidated into their multi-entity data across different entities that they had, they were taking 20 days to close. They had no visibility at the campaign level. Because if they were taking so long to find out how customers were doing or how things were billed, the customer campaign was over before they could tell them how they did. It was rear view mirror stuff. With Sage Intacct, they increased their time to 60% to close. They got multi-dimensional P&L visibility, so they were able to look at things in a more granular way. They took that profit and loss statement and they ran it by item type, by ad type, by customer. They could run the whole P&L by customer. Where are we making money and losing money with this customer? They increased operating cash flow by $40 million. So they were in the process of getting a $15 million line of credit at the time, and they didn't need any more because finance found $40 million. One part of this that's not on here is their DSO went way down because now they were able to get customer information in real time and write those bills and get them out to the customer and get paid faster. So DSO dropped, I've got it in a video somewhere, but it dropped dramatically, and that's really where they got the $40 million, was just this streamlining of the billing process. The controller said, Sage Intacct gives us real-time visibility into the state of our business because everything is integrated and reporting is easy. So they're kind of a hybrid of my next point. Leads right into my next point, well, after Hallstatt. I had these switched earlier, but I don't think it got switched when I moved the presentation over to here. But I'm going to skip over this one. We'll come back to it in a minute. It's another private equity firm. And this is the idea of synchronizing data with other systems in real time. So this is where you also free up time. You're not manually moving data. It's also where you make your data accurate. So you're getting timeliness, you're getting accuracy, and you're bringing it into a structured data area where you can really analyze it. If you go from batch to real time with APIs, you're making this huge difference in your close. You're making a huge difference. I mean, think about it. Even if you were doing daily batches and then dumping those into your financial system in some manual way, if those are flowing in real time, you can get to real-time metrics up to the minute, really. We have this piece of contracts that's built in. We have this idea of usage in our contracts. So let's say you have a licensed usage agreement. Well, we can feed usage in real time into the system so that anytime we run it, we can see where the customer is in their contract on usage. And we can see what that means to what their bill's going to look like. And so we can project, we can forecast out based on these usage numbers. And we start looking forward, ahead, looking around corners, looking through that fog. This is used regularly by engineering teams. If you talk to engineering teams in companies, they're using APIs all the time. At Intacct, or Sage Intacct, sorry, it's been a year. I shouldn't drop that out of there. But at Sage Intacct, we actually do more through our API than our user interface. So you can log in, do your accounting right in the system. It's a user interface. The API coming from all these different other systems is actually doing more than 60% of the calls that we see in our system and our logs. 60% of our actions on the system are from APIs. And most of our customers actually integrate with 2 or more other systems, like Salesforce, ADP, these other systems. And then they report on that in real time. So Grubhub uses the API for their own system, right? They built their own system to bring in all the information that they needed. They went live with us in 2011, and they went public in 2014. And in 2017, so last year, they sent us 500,000 lines of daily ordered data from their restaurant systems. So that's a lot of data, but it's all structured, it's all tagged, it's all usable, and right now they're on track to clear over 1 million daily orders by the end of this year, and that all gets processed into the system through the API. So it comes in, they've got their little online system, we're on the cloud, everything just flows right in, and their financial people can see what they're doing every day because that stuff's flowing in real time. And they can even put that right into a dashboard. So they could take a dashboard and they could look at the Sage Intacct information with your financial reports. They can look at Salesforce data that's coming in. Company can look at what's coming in, how are they doing with their adaptive insights budgets they've got going over here. And then you've got ADP, what are things looking like on the payroll front, and human resources. And this can all come up in a heads-up dashboard. And you can people make these dashboards role-based, If I'm the head of marketing, I'm not really looking at ADP, but I'm looking over at Salesforce and what's going on there. And so it depends on what you want to see. And these are just included in the system. So I talked about this becoming a data-driven strategist. So it's these 3 parts, right? It's this culture where people are free to make mistakes, get messy. We're not weaponizing our data. They've got a rigorous process. That only works in a rigorous process where you've got a safe place to try stuff because you have a process around it, right? You have a place to test things. And then they're working with good data that's accurate and timely, and it's structured. So we're seeing big results among these financial leaders who are data-driven. I've shown some of these. We've seen On the tactical side, we've seen 60% faster time to close. We've seen 78% faster customer reporting. So that data zoo piece was one. There was the Trion partners. We're getting faster information to customers. When we're serving customers, we're getting faster information to the board. Board books, we get those in minutes, so you can open those up and have a live discussion with your board book up in a staff meeting or a board meeting. You go to the executive staff meeting, you're right on top of the numbers. We have real-time access to financials. And so we're not waiting to get the download from this operational system or that operational system. We're getting everything together in real time. Strategically, this created, for one company, as we said, $40 million in cash flow. We saw a 43% increase with another customer in their customer base, 10% growth in new investments. That was the Hallstatt one. I might go back to that. And a 20% increase in profits. And I love this quote. I'm going to bring it back. It was on that slide about the Hopi tribe. The CFO said, "Sage Intacct makes it fun and makes me look like a hero." That's the kind of stuff that really makes my day, that they're having fun with their job, because it can get tedious. Finance can get tedious. Fire drills get tedious. But when you can look ahead, you can be data-driven and strategic, you're staying ahead of those fires. You're not putting out fires all day. You're helping people be strategic in your team, and you're growing your company. So now I'm going to open it up to questions. Unless somebody wants to see that Hallstatt slide. You want to go back to that? You got any investment people here? Let's see. Where were they? All right. They had over 100 million in assets under management in real estate, private equity, search funds. So basically, they're having to go out to each of these funds and look at them individually, pull out the numbers, compile them, get a report out to their clients. They're spending 100 hours per quarter getting this consolidated financial reporting. Now they just pull up a consolidated dashboard and all the reporting's there. Everything's on a shared chart of accounts, and it's called multi-entity shared environment, and they can look across everything all at the same time. They can drill down into different entities, into different funds, and look at them specifically, all from one login, so they're not jumping around to different systems or logging in to different accounts over and over and over. 60% time to close. Oh, I jumped back to Data Zoo, didn't I? There we go. There it is. I'm not looking at the metrics. I already knew what they were. It's still 100 hours per quarter. They get their board book in minutes. They had 3 more deals invested, and when you're talking about a $100 million asset under management company, that's a big deal. I mean, they're buying like golf courses and stuff, and big projects, buying companies. So, any questions about anything I've talked about? Nothing? I covered it all? This is awesome. Yeah. Just shout. I'll repeat the question.
So having gone through a successful Intacct implementation, I have a question on your development partners. The development partner that we had was good, but I thought they could have been better. So from your guys' angle, do you kind of rate the development partners, help us choose the right developer out there? Do you do anything like that?
So you're talking about your development partner. Was this a VAR, a partner that came in and implemented the system for you? Usually did they find you, or did you come to us and we asked them to help you?
We found them.
You found them, okay. So then that's kind of their relationship, and at that point we would help them. We would send in as they needed help, we would help them with our professional services people. Yeah, take that one, John.
Yes or no?
So we do rate them. We have a series of VARs. There's about 100 plus VARs. And some of the Intacct partners both resell and implement and kind of own the customer, and other ones support the direct sales organization and implement as when you buy directly from Intacct. Sounds like you bought through the VAR as well. Okay. So we appreciate any feedback. If you've had issues, certainly there's a channel organization that you can go back to talk about your partners.
Where do you find that?
I'll talk to you afterwards. I'll give you the name of the people to talk to. And some of the other VARs, you know, need to follow the INTAC methodology. The ones that we work with directly follow an INTAC methodology. So we'll talk afterwards. I'll get the name and kind of give you some guidance. So that's great.
Oh, and isn't it true that we tend to recommend also along the lines of industry? Like certain VARs have expertise in a certain industry, and so that tends to direct that as well. Any other questions? Okay. I used to design databases. Any data questions? I talked about structured data a little bit. All right. Well, I left a little time for questions, but I have some questions. Is there a Geno's and a Geno's East pizza place in Chicago? West and East. Now, which one's better? Am I going to have a fight here if I bring this up? We don't know. No opinion.
I have an opinion on that.
Okay. Go to Uno's. Uno's, all right. That was my main question. It was a Chicago question. Yes? The best way is to contact us and have a live demo. We do webinars all the time, and we've got a lot of demo videos out there you can look at, but a live demo is really the best. And the reason is that whenever you do a live demo with us, we have an exploratory call beforehand. So we'll get with you in a call, and we'll ask you about your business, basically, and then the demo will be focused toward what you do. Because it would be so frustrating if you're a wholesale distribution company and we give you a demo on how wonderful our project accounting is. So we don't do that. We don't want to waste your time with project accounting. If you're in wholesale distribution, we're going to spend time talking about warehouses and locations and replenishment and landed costs and all that kind of fun stuff. So we have that exploratory call, and it's really short, really. It can be really brief. And then a week or two later, we have a demonstration that matches your business. Great question, thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, I am going to give you 15 minutes back in your day, I guess, or turn the time over to our hosts.